Well, last night was a long night. Not so much for me, but way longer for my friend. You see, I have been working on this Jetta here this week. I did motor mounts, I redid the water pump because it was leaking, and then in the process, this stupid little fitting on the back of the firewall to the heater core, see where there's supposed to be a little nipple there? Well, it popped off. Turned to dust more than anything. What happened was my friend gave me a call late in the afternoon yesterday and said, the X5 is doing some weird stuff. The wipers are going like this, and all the lights on the dash had turned on, the car lost power. Thankfully, she was able to pull over into a parking lot and let the car die a slow, painful death all on its own.
Don't die. Please don't die.
After waiting hours for a tow truck, I wound up driving out to meet her on the other side of the world. It would feel like here in Phoenix, 60 miles to the other side of the valley. And then the tow truck showed up. I watched it get loaded up and brought home. What we found was when I got out there, I brought a battery charger. Got the car, let's see, here. I brought a battery charger, not a charger, my little lithium jump box, and I got the car to turn over. It wouldn't start, but turn over. So that tells me that I had some sort of electrical failure on the car, whether it was a charging system or battery failure or otherwise, I'm not sure. First thing I did when we got home last night was I put my trickle charger under the hood to get this thing charging overnight. And this morning it had the little red icon here that says positive and negative switched because I think maybe I've got an open in the battery. I'm not really sure. Let's get my head in the sunshine here. I don't know, let's fix this. What I'm dealing with here. I'm going about this live with you because, well, that's what you do if you're trying to make YouTube content, right? So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect my charger here and I'm gonna keep it really simple. I'm just gonna hook up my voltmeter to it. I have a nice battery testing tool that I can hook up to it if this leads me down that path. So let's just start with this. This voltmeter, let's see if you can see, says Blue Point Universal Technical Institute there. This thing is 24 years old. Oh, come on, are you kidding me? Is it not gonna start? I wonder if the batteries are dead. No! Scratch everything I said. I'm gonna get my little fancy battery tester and we'll try it with that since I guess I didn't realize this was dead right now. I used it like a week ago, but whatever. We're improvising here. Let's see. My little electrical corner. Got my little battery tester. This is the Ansel BA101. Super simple. We'll try this one. Get hooked up to positive, negative. And we're gonna go with battery and vehicle. Whoops. Battery and vehicle there. Battery test. Should be no charge. We got AGM flat plate. Gonna guess on CCAs. I don't really know. I don't want to dig out the back right now. Just to see what this says. After charge. I'm guessing it's dead based on that. Health 2%. 132 cold cranking amps. 18.42. I'm not actually at the battery, I'm under the hood, so I'm sure that I might get a different reading at the battery. I wonder if we should try that. Yeah, this thing has got to be stone dead at this point. Let's get the back taken apart and we'll try that. Trunk wouldn't open without the charger on the car. Still won't open. I wonder if it's locked. What's going on here? Try again. So on this car, to get to the battery, we got to get this box out, which is a couple of Phillips screws. So I got to get some tools. Alrighty. What is the cranking amp of this battery? Hey, it is 900 cranking amps. That's good. Health 0%. Replace battery. Damn it. This battery is not that old. It was new when I bought the car this year. But if the alternator totally toasted this battery, then we've got a problem. So what we need to do is we need to get the car started and test the alternator. which means I'm gonna need a bigger jump box. Charge, it's taking a ton of amperage. Let's go to engine start for 90 seconds. And let's see if she starts. No. Whoa, that's the first time I've ever seen a red screen. Nothing. All right, we're not gonna do that. Before I go too far and damage any electronics, I'm gonna pull the battery out of the car, put it on a recondition cycle and see if we can get anywhere with that. I'm probably gonna have to replace the battery and then check the alternator, which is kind of a bummer, but I guess this is what happens. I've always understood you want to have a battery off of the ground. You don't want it up on the ground or down on the ground. Let's go battery recondition. It's plugged in. See what she does. Okay, so it's the next day. I left the battery on battery recondition mode on my charger overnight. So now we get to see, did it come up? Did it make it to float? Which it looks like it did. So it's in float mode right now. And you can see it shows 100%. Let's see what our voltage is. Voltage is 13.2. That would make sense, it's on a charger. I guess what that means is we gotta take the charger off and put our battery tester back on it and see if we were able to bring this battery back to life. If we were, I'm gonna be really excited for this 1-year-old battery that is not cheap necessarily. I did find it at Costco, had the best price. If I were to replace it, as far as any battery, it's the same battery at Interstate at Costco, and at least then I would get the warranty. I really don't want to replace it though if I don't have to. Good battery, fan-freaking-tastic. Okay, if you can't tell, I'm extraordinarily relieved. My little trickle charger couldn't bring this battery back, but my Black & Decker, I guess they're both Black & Decker chargers, but my bigger charger, this is a 0 to 15 amp battery charger with a 40 amp engine start. The engine start was not enough to start this car on a stone cold dead battery, so that's a bummer. But hey, if you're looking for one of these chargers, whether it be the trickle or this battery charger, take a look at the links down below. You can pick up one for yourself. Now I need to get this battery in the car and we need to test the alternator. Now, small problem. I closed the trunk on the X5 and the battery is in the garage, which means I gotta crawl in the back to open it up. So we gotta get in here. And then the emergency release is right here. Mine is kind of stuck because it's taped in place. Kind of dumbass did that. Me. There we go. Voila. Ow. Damn, I am not set up for this kind of crawling. Okay. Now we'll get the battery back in. All right, we're running. And we're only running at 12.08 volts. And it dropped down to 10 because of cranking. That's not good. So we're getting 0 output out of that alternator. We need to get up to the alternator and double check that we have any voltage coming in to turn it on. So the exciter circuit is the one wire in that connector. That's what turns on the alternator technically. It is a varying circuit, which is probably going to be a pulse width modulated or something that I need to read on an oscilloscope. I already connected my voltmeter to it. I got this thing working again with new batteries. That was the only issue I was facing. And when I plug in down here, let's see, you're looking somewhere totally different. The car is on and it's reading 7.4 volts, which tells me it's probably working. What I was really looking for there would have been like an open circuit or something like that, that would say that from the DME to here that it wasn't working. When I look at the actual schematic to this, it's very simple. You can see down in this corner here, let me make it bigger. We've got the DME, here is the intelligent battery sensor, DME, down to the alternator. And this is the BSD circuit, or the input, and then this is our actual battery line to the jump start terminal, the starter, and all of that. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the alternator has probably died on me. This car has 180,000 miles on it, and it's had a battery replaced, and it's had draws and everything in the past. And I can't imagine that the alternator isn't the issue. Now, there could be some caveats to this. The BSD line communicates with the IBS, that's the intelligent battery sensor. It's new on this car, it's the updated version. It also communicates via the water pump and the oil level sensor. The caveat is I have a cheap Amazon oil level sensor in there that likes to fail. However, I'm not getting a fault for it, at least immediately right now. I'm getting a fault for the alternator not responding. So, we're gonna go with that. It's gonna be an expensive gamble, and I haven't decided if I'm gonna go OE, Bosch, or Vallejo, or aftermarket Chinesium from Amazon, because it's half the price. So the next time you see me, I'll have an alternator right here. We decided to go with the Amazon Special. This brand, A Premium, is a brand that I've used a number of times now. Sucker's kind of heavy and I don't want it to fall. I put the A Premium starter in the 540. I've got an A Premium valve cover on here. And I think it's just a remake of some other brand, like most things. One of the reasons I went with the Amazon brand was because I could get it here with free shipping. I didn't have a core charge, and it was much cheaper than all the other options. My car uses the 220 amp alternator. This one is labeled as 230. Start by getting our duct out of the way. In order to get the alternator out, we've got to get the belt off, which means we want to pull this front core support off. And the directions do call for pulling the fan out. I think I can totally get that belt off without pulling the fan off. I should probably disconnect the battery before I get too far ahead of myself. To get our alternator belt off, you can see there's a T60 slot right there, and then I've got a pin in, so when I rotate the belt, I'll lock the tensioner in place, then I can pop it off of the alternator and the idler. Let's hold on just a second. This repair has only been made possible by the information that I have been able to find online. In one very specific location, eManuals Online. You see, without the information to look up the BSD serial interface, learn how that bus works and what the oscilloscope pattern should look like if I had an oscilloscope, other than my little battery tester, and then figure out what bolts where and when and how to remove, these jobs wouldn't be possible by me or many other people. You see, using eManual Online, I was able to put in my 2010 X5 and get access to the same repair manuals that I used when I was a BMW tech, using their own software, which is pretty darn cool. All you have to do is go down to Buy Now and enter my code DFB22, which is going to give you a discount right up front and make this much more affordable. Now, see, you'll have access to this for the foreseeable future, which means that you can continue working on cars up until basically your hands can't do it anymore. See, I've been doing this for 25 years now, working on BMWs, and yeah, I'm going to keep doing it because I really like these cars. Having these manuals makes this possible so that as I work on new cars, old cars, and everything in between, I have the information at my fingertips that I need to make the job possible. Now that I'm in, I've got everything that is going to get it done, and I'm ready to move forward. Take a look at eManuals Online, DFB22, for your discount. Takes quite a bit of force on this guy. I think I might have the wrong size pin. Okay, well, let me show you. Well, that's what happens when the light falls down. This pin didn't seem to want to go in. I made a pin out of a pocket screwdriver. We'll try that one. And I'm gonna have to figure out how to find my light. There we go. Sometimes you gotta solve your own silly problems. And we'll figure out where that silly pin goes. Before we go taking our bolts out, let's pop our cable connection off. There's a tab on the back. A little push tab. And then down here, below where that is a 13mm nut where you will be pulling your positive lead off of the end. These are aluminum bolts, so they're going to be one-time use. There are 4 E12s. All right, we should be loose now. Yep. Add the belt out to the front. Up and around. And we got a pulley to switch out. We need to go ahead and transfer our deflection pulley, idler pulley, over to our new alternator. Comparing the two alternators, everything except the Vallejo stamping looks to be pretty close to identical. I'm not sure this is a new casting. It might be remanufactured. At this point, it doesn't really matter. Every single other alternator was a remanufactured unit. This one might claim to be new, but it looks, I don't know. It's tough to say. This guy is a 16. It is 40 Newton meters. Let's see, and it's also full of debris. Okay, in we go. Kind of find a way that bends the least amount of things, like your coolant hose here. Get your cables up and out of there. Line up your positive feed down on the bottom, bolt on the top here. Try to get everybody lined up. Torque is 10 Newton meters and then 180 degrees. Now we can rewrap our belt. I was able to get the tensioner pinned. I just was not turning it quite far enough before. Once the alternator was out, it was much easier to see where that needed to go. So we have to wrap around the alternator, back around the idler, down around the power steering pump. And over here we go around this upper idler and then around the tensioner from the bottom. So all of the pulleys have a full wrap on them. And then it's really advisable to try to reach down there and get everybody wrapped up nice and smooth. If you can, rotate it to get everybody to fall into their grooves. That's super helpful. Otherwise, it will do that when you start it. But I like to try to do that beforehand so that you don't wind up losing a belt for some reason. My pin is a little bent over in there, so a pair of pliers to get it out. Okay, now we got to get that battery hooked back up, and we'll check fault memory. All right, to check fault memory, I'm going to be using Bimmerlink and my OBD-Link wireless dongle here with my special adapter that I made for unplugging it, a piece of duct tape. So we've got transfer box, power, steering angle sensor, normalization for seat module, footwell, daytime running light. That's something totally other. I'll pop the garage open and we'll start the car and see what happens. So did it start? Yes, it did. Did I hit record on the camera? Nope, I did not. I had shut the camera off thinking that I hit record. I had my secondary camera running, but I did not have my mic hooked up to that camera. It was hooked up to this one. So I'll throw that up here, see if it sounds okay, sounds weird. The car didn't start all that well. It was kind of bumpily, jumpily, grumpily. It was pissed off, it would seem. And I was a little concerned maybe that the alternator wasn't working. It did, however, kick on, and it was pushing almost 15 volts there for a little while because the battery wasn't in the best shape. Now, we had done a recondition cycle on the battery previously, and it did seem to work. The battery came back to life, it was doing okay, but as I started the car up, I had the increased battery discharge warning on the dash. That means one of two things. Either there is a draw causing this discharge, or the battery is not operating healthily and the car is recognizing that. It was really number two. The car recognized that there was something up with the battery. So what I wound up doing was running another recondition cycle on the battery, and I've been driving the car now for a couple of days with no issues. It's working fine, starting fine. I do have my jump pack in the back seat, just in case though. Moral of the story here is the alternator fixed it. I think that the alternator failed for a number of reasons. One of those reasons might have been a previously leaking oil filter housing gasket / assembly. There's a ton of debris on this alternator, and it looks like that could definitely have been a factor in this. Regardless, it's fixed, it's running now, and we can move on. Like, subscribe, comment, use DFB22 on eManual Online to get a manual for your car, and I will see you in the next video.